Good afternoon, everybody. This is June. I'm June Hans, and I'm from Oregon. And I'll be kicking us off today. And we have a great lineup today. Can't wait to hear from Vikki. She's going to share some amazing things with us today. And we'd love for you to put in the chat where you're calling in from so we know where you are and maybe how you serve your community and any contact information that you want to include so that other people can reach out to you. We are going to meet the rest of the week at noon Pacific, and we ask that you commit to being on live whenever you can, and if not, second best, of course, is to watch the recording. And we have prizes at the end of today, but you have to be on, and we'd ask that you put your first and last name on your label there, your Zoom label, so we know all the people that are coming, because sometimes people only put the first name and it's hard for us to identify which person you are. So we also have a way for you to create your own affiliate link and invite people to the challenge. So bring a buddy. And if you haven't already, join our VIP and you'll have access to the recordings for however long they're up there and our past recordings. But we like to ask you to find a buddy. Think of somebody who could benefit by our information, and help. It helps you to stay accountable, and it expands who we can help, and bring a friend along. So we have a $20 Amazon gift card today, and on Friday we'll be giving away a gift. So every day that you come live, you'll be entered for Friday's giveaway, and that's a 3 to 7 night stay somewhere. But I get the privilege of passing the baton to Miss Lisa. Lisa is our mentor and host for this challenge, and she's an amazing mom. I love when she talks about her children, and I love when she talks about her dad. She's a great daughter, a wife, a business partner, and I just enjoy working with Lisa so much. And I think all of us will grow our financial IQ this week. So off to you, Lisa. Thank you.
Thank you, my dear. I love you too. Thank you for celebrating my mom's birthday with me yesterday. I got so many fun messages, and I wanted to start our time off together today with a little giggle. Okay, so a lot of you know we shared yesterday that last night we hosted a love and money workshop, and it was just amazing. We had, I think, over 100 people on the workshop, people from different walks of life. We had a couple of our Wealth Creator tribe couples sharing the beauty of what they do in their relationship. And in our leadership meeting today, we were shown this article. And so I just want you to just get a sense of the state of our country right now. Okay, this was an advertisement. This is a current advertisement from P.F. Chang's. Okay, that if you have been broken up with via text, you can get some free dumplings, my friends. we were laughing because, in some ways, quite frankly, yes, it's a laughable thing. I guess great. It's wonderful if you can get free dumplings when you've had your heart broken via text. But isn't it really sad when you think about it, right? That this is the world that we are living in. I hope P.F. Chang's, they probably spent millions on that advertisement. And hopefully they're sending out a lot of free dumplings. But my goal, friends, in our community here is that nobody ever needs free dumplings. Does that sound like a good goal? Because guess what? Money comes easily and naturally. Money is flowing, right? If we want to get some dumplings for our family, we have more than enough resources to do that, right? We're also so passionate, as Donna and June so beautifully shared yesterday, about our community, about our connectiveness as children of God, as women believers, as men that are locking arms and raising one another up in our communities. We are taking a stand for our next generation because we know that they haven't taught our kiddos anything about how money works in school, right? So with that in mind, I'm going to share with you one of my favorite videos. Does anyone watch Saturday Night Live? The old Saturday Night Live, I'm more of a fan of than the current Saturday Night Live. But I'm going to share my screen with you for a minute. And it's one of my favorite, very, very old school Saturday Night Lives. But as you're watching it, I want you to be thinking about, okay, first of all, yes, it's a funny little video, but I really want you to seriously think about the absurdity, but also the reality of this video. Okay. And I want you to be thinking about, who do I know that could benefit from what we are sharing with families, what we are sharing with our communities. So some of you might remember this video. Lisa always laughs so hard when I watch this video. Okay, tell me if you guys can see the screen okay. Donis, can you see it? You can see it okay? Okay, friends, you'll have to pardon my silliness, but I just have to, that's always one of my favorite videos. And I want to just encourage you all. We know that you can either spend less or you can make more. Okay. We know that there's really two scenarios. We know that when we are better stewards of our money, we will do better. When we know better, we do better. We know that the more wisdom we seek, the fewer miracles we need, right? And what's beautiful about our community is not only are we sharing with others how to be better stewards of what God has blessed us with, but we are also, because we know that we are His best idea, we know that we are His masterpiece. We know that we are capable of so much more, and especially when we're together. So I want to see, make sure that you guys know what's available to you. By now, you should have received your access to your workbook. I want to know, how did you do on your dream work last night? Did you bring a buddy? Did you complete the form? Learning about how are you trading your time for money? Do you have a single source of income, or are there multiple sources of income coming in? Some of you were questioning about your access to the workbook. So please make sure that you do email our team. It's office@lisawilliamsco.com. If for some reason you're having trouble accessing it, make sure and we'll send that to you. Okay. The more attention you pay to this workshop, friends, I promise you, the more equipped you're going to be to really increase those income streams for your lives. Okay. One of my favorite things about what we do is our belief in the power of what we say to ourselves, how we talk to ourselves. And in our world of financial coaching, this week you're learning a little bit about what it looks like to be a financial coach. We are looking for people that are looking for us, people that have a desire to help others, serve others, create a better economy in their own lives. And one of the biggest things that we love about our community is how we know that whatever we put into our mouths and we speak out loud, we know that we can make it happen. Whatever we can see, we can have in our hand. And it's powerful when you talk about it together as a community. I want to ask you all to unmute yourselves, and we're going to do our declaration that we do every day together. On three, we're going to declare. Okay, 1, 2, 3. I declare I will experience God's faithfulness. I will not worry. I will not doubt. I will keep my trust in Him, knowing that He will not fail me.
I will give
birth
birth
to every promise God put in my heart, and I will become everything God created me to be. This is my declaration. I want to just invite you all to take a screenshot of this and just imagine what would happen to your life if every day that's how you started it. I want to also share some of my money affirmations with you, and let's speak these out loud together as well. On three, 1, 2, 3. I am worthy of wealth I desire. I am financially free. I am grateful for the money I have. I am a money magnet. I am worthy of financial success. I am an excellent money manager. I am open to receiving more money. I am attracting money easily and effortlessly. I am worthy of financial success. I am an excellent money manager. I am generous with my money. And I am a great giver and an excellent receiver.
I like that. I like that.
Absolutely. The excellent receiver part, my friends, is huge. We get to be excellent receivers as well, right, Eric? Eric's excited about that one.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I want to share something that happened a couple days ago. So at the Super Bowl, one of my mentors, who many of you know, Pedro Adeo, I'm very blessed to be one of his Kingdom Wealth specialists. And he was talking about, I don't know how many of you saw this. There was an advertisement on during Super Bowl for Jesus, and it probably cost about $14 million, they estimate. And it's actually the second year in a row that there was an ad by this group. And what was funny was Pedro was talking about, he was actually really irritated because somebody in his community had criticized that person. Because of think about all the money that all the families that could have been helped by that $14 million that they spent on the ad. But I loved what he said about this, because, $14 million to someone that is a multi, almost trillionaire, by the way, that's like $10 to us, right? And imagine how many people watched that Super Bowl, and imagine how many people maybe really never learned about Jesus before. I believe media is going to play a big role in the second coming, quite frankly, right? Because we're promised that the message is going to be heard by all ears, which even, shepherds in the very far, Middle East with very little technology have a cell phone these days, right? So I just thought that was hilarious that we can seem to always find criticism in even the most generous of actions, right? So friends, we're going to jump right into it. I want you to get your notebooks out. We have a lot to cover today. We're going to share a few cash flow tips for you today. We have some brilliant sharing by my friend Vikki, who I am so excited to learn from as well. But I want to refresh a little bit what we talked about yesterday. And we really didn't get to touch on this very much because we're trying to pack a lot into our days. But I want you to look at this chart. And, this is one of the biggest mistakes that people make when it comes to building wealth. And by the way, I always say just like me, because this was me for decades. I was in the wrong cash flow quadrant. Many of you are very familiar with the very famous book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That's when this cash flow quadrant was first really discussed. It's a game. There's, movies that have been made out of this. But the question is, where are you in the cash flow quadrant? Are you an employee? Have you been trading your time for money like me for many years? Maybe you are self-employed. This is where a lot of our entrepreneur friends end up. They become disillusioned maybe with a job. They're good at something. They decide to go out and create their own business. But 90% of business owners, we know what happens. They end up owning a job. They're still trading their time for money. Their hours are limited. They might have a little more freedom because they don't have a boss, but not a lot of money is being made if those hands are not working, right? Then we talk about the right side of the quadrant. This is where the 1% population reside, my friends. These are people that have a business with a system. They don't necessarily have to be the builders of the system. They can be part of the system, which is what we share about in our community. At which point, when you have a system that's truly working for you while you're sleeping, that's when you really become that investor, that passive investor, that money is flowing, whether you're working or not. And one of the big things that we talk about in our community is knowing where you're going. So one of the things that we do in our personal sessions, which each of you are invited to have one, is the question, do you know your financial independence number? All this is, it's simply a bucket of money that once you hit that goal, you will be able to live off the interest and you won't run out. Everyone has a financial independence number. For most, the average in America is 2 to 3 million. It used to be $1 million. We used to hear financial advisors say, once you hit that $1 million, nugget, now you'll be able to live off the interest. Well, we know that that is not the case in our country anymore, but the average fin number is 2 to 3 million. So the question is, how are we doing on that? How are you doing on your own financial roadmap? There's so much power when it comes to how are we doing with the money that we have in our hands right now. And I want to share another cash flow tip with you today that will help you immediately increase your own cash flow and do better with your own money. So raise of hands for those of you that are familiar with high yield savings accounts. I'm curious how many of you have them. I know every single one of our teams should have one by now. There's no excuse at this point, right? There's something that happens that's very interesting when it comes to inflation. I'm not going to try to explain the science behind this, but for whatever reason, when we have high inflation times, high yield savings accounts go up. I remember my grandma would always tell me, well, honey, just open your savings account. Because in her day, savings accounts were a good thing, right? They would get like 5-8%, as she would tell me. That has not been the case traditionally in our lives, right? But right now it is. So I want to invite you. I have no particular one that I recommend, but I have one here if you want to take a screenshot. I personally have something called SoFi. And when you open an account with them, they'll actually give you a gift. They're saying Lisa wants you to get $275, and I do want you to, although that's not coming from me, that's coming from them. But take a screenshot of this. This is where your emergency fund should be. These accounts now, it's so funny. There's a lot of fear sometimes when you think about doing something different. So sometimes when these savings accounts are discussed, people are like, well, I want to be able to go to a bank. These are online bank accounts. But let me ask you, when is the last time you actually went to the bank? Okay. Most of us, it's not very often, except maybe to put a deposit in or take a withdrawal out, right? But most of our banking these days we can do online. And these accounts are very accessible. We can transfer money back and forth. That is one of the big things that we do in our community is we're passionate about helping families understand where are the banks putting their money, right? Because the banks are doing really, really well with your money at like a Chase Bank or a Wells Fargo, right? You're not doing as well as you could. Okay, so cash flow tip number 2 today. Next one I want to share about with you is really making sure if you don't have to lose, why would you? Warren Buffett is one of my favorite teachers. We study and implement the principles that Warren Buffett teaches. And he has two rules with money. The first one is never lose. And the second one is don't forget rule number one. And I know this sounds very simple, but I want you to think about your own wealth building journey up until this point. Okay. Raise of hands for those of you that have done what most people did, which was have a 401k, maybe a 403b, a 457 if you're in education, maybe you have an IRA if you're self-employed. This is what I did. I have way too much money in these types of accounts because I didn't know any different. I went to work, I took whatever the company offered me. And by the way, if you are a baby boomer on this call right now, the way that these plans were designed worked perfectly for you. And the reason is because we are in the lowest tax rates in the history of our lifetime right now. Okay. But I want to share an image with you, and I want you to consider what is happening in our economy right now. Okay. This image is a powerful one for a number of reasons. First of all, one of the things that I love about the world of finance is that numbers are what they are, historical patterns. Numbers repeat themselves. And you'll notice this is a chart that literally shows the market and what it's happened since 1929. Okay. You'll notice that patterns repeat themselves. Now, this chart is actually what's happened since 1999. Now, what you'll notice, right, is that there's patterns that repeat themselves, but I'm curious, like, what stands out to you the most? I would love some feedback on this right now. Any comments about does this chart make you feel comfortable? Does it put a little discomfort in your mind? Raise of hands. Anyone want to share what they're thinking? Come on, don't be shy. Go ahead, Eric.
Well, I'm looking forward to the drop. I mean, when the market dropped and time passed, I wasn't familiar with stock market and investing and stuff like that because I didn't hear of, I didn't know anything about those things in 2000. So when it crashed in, I didn't know nothing. But knowing what I know now, I would have bought the dip. I would have bought it at a lower price. So I'm actually looking forward to this dip because this is a large wealth transfer that's getting ready to happen this year or next. So I'm going to be a part of it.
Yeah. So Eric's looking forward to it. Anyone else? Anyone else have thoughts? Monique, I can't tell if your hand's raised because you want to share something or that was from earlier.
Looks like a roller coaster.
Looks like a roller coaster. Yeah. We teach in our Kingdom Wealth workshops that the market is very much like boom and bust, right? Now, well, what Eric said, I think is really wise. I agree with you in the sense that there's going to be opportunities, right, to be part of that wealth transfer. My fear is that there is a lot of money in the market right now that's at risk, right? And the reality is that it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be because this chart tells us that there is something coming, right? But what we also know is that just like our cell phones, just like our technology, what's happened with financial products has changed a lot. So, friends, this is specifically talking to those of you that have money in the market right now. That maybe you have an old 401k, you have an IRA, you have a 403b. You're wondering, do I have to? If I don't want to, do I have to go down? Do I have to continue this roller coaster? Because the reality is, friends, you do not have to. You can choose to get educated and learn about how to protect what you have. So this, if you have an old 401k or an IRA, maybe you're in a mutual fund, for example, you're paying lots of fees. This might even just be an Ameritrade account, for example. I want to give you a little lesson about what's called a fixed indexed annuity. Raise of hands for those of you that that are familiar with this concept. I want to get a sense of who's heard of it before. I know we have some clients on this call. So fixed index annuities, depending on who you talk to, they either don't know about them, or they really, really have never heard of them, or they have a bad opinion about them, or they just don't have an opinion, right? Now, it's interesting because annuities have been around for a really long time. And how annuities used to work is it really only benefited the investor if they lived a really, really long time. If they died too soon, it wasn't necessarily good for the investor, okay? But what's happened is, just like technology has evolved, financial products have evolved. And as a result of the changes in the economy, the financial companies are responding to it, right? So there's options available. What strategies you can do with this? This is an example of what's called a rollover. So you can roll that asset into another product called a fixed index annuity. The features of this product, what happens is that means you have no risk to your principal. You will never have to participate in that roller coaster ride again. You also will stop paying fees. For those of you that aren't aware, it's funny. People ask me all the time, or when I ask them, do you know what kind of fees you're paying in your 401k? Oftentimes they actually don't know. You'd be surprised how many people don't know the types of fees they're paying. I had a client that I met with, it was about a year ago, and it was after the fall of 2022, where the market went down about 23%. And she was surprised to see that her advisor had made about $22,000 that year, while she had lost 22% of her assets, right? And unfortunately, friends, this is one of the reasons that we do what we do. We are disruptors in the financial industry, because the reality is you do not have to participate in that market loss if you don't want to. If you get informed, you get around communities like us that share the good news of what you can do to protect your money. Now, you can still grow that asset tax deferred. A lot of these accounts have, they're in tax deferred accounts, so you haven't paid your taxes, and you can lock in the gain each year. So if the market goes up, that means that you'll win. But if the market goes down, you're going to take more of a sideways approach to your investing. So just imagine that rule that Warren Buffett talks about: never lose your money. And don't forget rule number 1. Imagine how much more would you personally have in your accounts if you had never lost. Imagine that. Now, obviously, there's things that you give up in return, okay? What you are giving up in return. You can't obviously expect the promise of only upside potential with no fees without also giving something in return. In return, what the company asks for is they're asking you to surrender your asset to them. It's called a surrender period. For a period, there's 5, 7, 10 years. And what that means is you're giving them your asset, your valuable asset, and they're going to go to the market and they're going to play with that asset, right? They're probably going into real estate, oil and gas, commodities, all sorts of investments. They're probably going to get 17, maybe 18%, right? Do you think that they can guarantee that you will not lose, right? Of course they can. That's how the market works. So friends, just, be aware of this. If this is a new concept for you, we invite you to schedule time with one of our wealth coaches. Evaluate if this strategy works for you. Because friends, at some point, would you agree that we can help ourselves do better with our wealth by making sure we don't lose more than we can help ourselves win, right? In the Kingdom Wealth Formula, there's protection first, as we talked about yesterday. There's earn and there's multiply, right? Unfortunately, I think a lot of times what happens is people skip ahead to the earn and multiply part. That's why I believe so many people have been caught up in Bitcoin scams, crypto scams. they know they have some catching up to do. They know that, a quick fix sounds awesome, but is that kingdom, right? My own sweet father was taken for 260,000 in crypto, scam. And this is very, very near and dear to my heart. That's why we're so passionate about educating you so that you can do better, with what you have. So speaking of better, I'm going to shift over to our Better platform. Now, most of you, yesterday we introduced our affiliate platform. This is our way that we help our community earn and multiply. Okay. We talked yesterday a little bit about our platform. By now, if you're new to our community, don't worry if you haven't gotten your Better Life link yet, you should be getting that by today. You're automatically enrolled in it when you join our community. But just a reminder, our Better Income platform is a referral platform that's specifically designed to help you increase your income. Okay. Think of it as an Amazon, but instead of retail products, we have meaningful B2B and B2C solutions. So part of this week is about sharing some of the good news. We're going to talk about one of the first areas that I'm personally very, very passionate about is the financial crisis, specifically the debt crisis in our country. And I would love a show of hands of for those of you that at some point in your life, maybe today, maybe it was a while ago, you have felt burdened by debt. Raise of hands for those of you. Raise of hands. I think every one of us at some point has felt that, right? I will tell you my own story. I was at one point burdened with $70,000 in credit card debt. And I just felt like there was no way I was going to get out of it. And this program is what I did personally. Now, there's different ways that you can address your debt. For those of you that are Dave Ramsey, alumni like me, we have the debt snowball effect. We have the debt avalanche effect. We don't have time to go into all of those. But you can Google it. They're very, they're out there all over. And this specifically is the type of products for people that are burdened by debt and they just don't see a way out. My personal situation was I was making regular payments. I was paying like $3,000, almost $3,000 a month in credit card payments, and I was not getting ahead. It was going to take me decades. By the way, these credit card companies had probably gotten over definitely more than I'd ever borrowed right at this point. I had paid back what I had owed. At some point, sometimes you get to swallow your pride. That was a big thing that I had to do. Admit that I was in trouble and seek help. And so, friends, one of the things that we love about our community is that first, if when you're hearing about these products and services, if this is something that you could benefit from, you get to put your own mask on first, right? And you get to be paid for your own referral. Okay, so let's talk about the crisis in our country. 22% of Americans hope to pay off debt in 2024. This is a major goal for a lot of families out there. And, one of the biggest ones that we have right now is our student loan debt. Raise of hands for those of you that know someone that has some student loan debt out there. This is one of the biggest crises in our country right now. The deferment that, put payments off for so many years really did a disservice, quite frankly, I think, to most people, because it almost made them forget that they had this debt burden. And, there's a startling percentage of people that once they needed to start paying it again, they didn't have the money to do it. And yet there's federal programs that have been around for decades. Student loan forgiveness, it's not just, it's not only possible, it's just a few clicks away. With Prosperity Financial, this is the company on the platform that we work with. I have helped countless clients relieve their debt burden. And just thinking about what it would be like to be relieved from the consumer debt. We have unsecured debt, which is credit card debt, medical bills, and then there's secured debt. and then their student loan debt. And the great thing about our referral program, you know people that we don't know, and we pay very handsomely for those referrals. So for example, I've seen, I want to highlight specifically Suzanne. Suzanne has been doing such a great job on her, she's a relatively new friend in our community. She has been sharing on social media about what she's learning. And I wanted to share, Suzanne, I know you were able to help your first friend with relief of some debt burden. Do you mind sharing a little bit about that?
Yeah, yes, yes. Blessings everybody, and I love you, Miss Lisa. I'm gonna be real
Love
brief.
you too.
I it was two people from my church. I had grew to build rapport with, good relationship. So I had spoke to them about you and everything that we do here and everything, and I told them, look, I know a program, with better that they can help you, with whatever financial problem you may have or would have you. And they were like, well, we can trust you, Suzanne, because you're a good sister, you have good character, so I know you lead me the right way. So I said, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm only here to help, you know what I'm saying? So they told me a little bit of what they going through, and then I said, okay, I will connect you with Miss Dawn. And we was able to help them like that, and Miss Dawn was able to connect them with the agent from PFN, Prosperity Financial
Mhm.
Network. And the guy, Mr. Jose, I know him. I'm still friends with that guy to this day.
Yeah.
He helped my friends. So now they making their payments monthly for whatever they were able to get help with. So I'm happy. I'm really
So
happy for that.
happy. Absolutely. And you think about what she said a word, I think it was 4 times I heard it. She said connect. And she also said trust, right? I tell people, what is the main skill set that you get to possess, or if you don't possess it, you get to create, you get to build in yourself, right? And that is the skill set of being a professional and authentic inviter of the good news. The good news of what's available to people. But Suzanne also said something that's very important, which is trust, right? These are people that she knew, that knew her, and they trusted her, right? Now I realize a lot of you that you're putting trust in us. You're putting trust in us by just being here today, being in this workshop, giving us your most precious time, which is the time that you have. It's the most precious gift that we all have. And I ask you to consider, when you're thinking, when you're watching this, you're hearing these testimonies, how many people do you know that are burdened by debt? You'd be surprised. Not everyone talks about it necessarily, but I encourage you to start, if this resonates with you, first of all, help yourself if you need it, my friends, and then start to share the good news. We had, Tammy Joy's been a friend of our community for several months now. She has really embraced this. She's helped her husband. She's helped many friends. We had Irene's story is one of the biggest cases that I've personally seen. She had over 290,000 in Parent Plus loans. And our program basically eradicated about 80% of that debt. Do you know how she feels now by having that burden lifted? So friends, I encourage you to start to get to know these products and services. The good news is we don't have to be the experts because our vendor partners are. All we get to know is learn enough about what these companies do so that we can actually share the good news with the people that are close to us. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about the ERC tax credit, which is out there right now. There's a window of time that's closing a little bit. My church got over $1 million in ERC tax credits. And that is going directly into our parish, directly into our economy, our parish economy, so that we can do better, right? So perfect timing to bring up my friend, Miss Vikki Rood. I'm going to put a little pin on you, my dear. And, You know, you and I got to, this is a perfect example, in my opinion, of trust and credibility and communication and connectiveness, because Vikki was introduced to me. Many of you might remember our friend John Kovach, who spoke for us this summer. John's energy, talk about, you know, just such an authentic, beautiful man. And he became part of our community. And I asked, you know, I always ask everyone, like, who do you know that would be good for us? Right. And it was such a beautiful connection to get to meet Vikki. She and I connected on many levels. We talked about her 12-step program, where, you know, she's helping serve so many women who have been through the ringer, as you like to say, right? We talk about both our involvement in the 12-step program as codependents and children of alcoholics. I know that we have that in common. So Vikki, I'm just going to give you the floor, hun. I know that you have some wisdom that you're going to share with us today, and I'll probably be popping in as well. But give us a little bit of your backstory, and then I'm excited to hear what you have to share today.
Yeah, amazing. I'm going to share my slides, everybody, if you give me a moment to be tech. Hang on, present. And I'm going to share with you a little about myself. First and foremost, I want to, hang on, can you see what I'm sharing? No. Let's see. Audience window.
Not quite.
I got it.
There we go.
Got it? Can you see
Yep.
it? Okay, I'm gonna go
It's
back.
coming.
Okay, how do I go back? Okay. So I'm a life coach, I'm an author, I'm a speaker, I'm a spiritual seeker and a teacher. And I wanted to most importantly share my why I do what I do. And it's because I believe that I believe that collaboration and connection is what brought me back to life. And I'll tell you about where I was before, but together, living inspired, everybody gets to thrive. There's enough for everybody. Lighting one candle doesn't take out the other candle that's right next to it, right? I truly believe that everybody matters. Every single human being on this planet matters. And everyone has something that they can contribute to this world. And when we remember that, it creates a ripple effect. Another thing that I had to learn the hard way was that success and joy can coexist. They really, truly can. I did not think that was the case for a long time because I didn't allow it. Because I wasn't inspired, because I wasn't with a we, and because I chose to go alone, right? And to your point of those 4 quadrants, Lisa, it's that being alone that really kind of keeps us small, if you will. And then finally, resilience and self-love. I truly believe that when we take care of ourselves first, when we take care of what's inside our mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being, when we are right within ourselves, the rest falls into place. There's a beautiful Rumi quote, and I'm sure someone in here has heard it, but what he says is, live life as if everything is rigged in your favor, right? And when you live with resilience and self-love and coming to the table as a humble servant, right? A servant leadership, everything changes. And I can only tell you this from experience because I came from a family of powerful women. Okay, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Grammy Pat. Grammy Pat was the first woman manager of a distribution center for Skill Bosch. Does anyone know Skill Bosch company? They make power tools. First woman manager ever. And she started in about 76. She got transferred to that position. You could see all the pictures on the wall, her and all these men, right? And she was powerful, but she still made $30,000 where her counterparts were making $75,000 or $80,000 in the same job, right? And it's because she had a scarcity complex. Her parents grew up in the Depression, so she carried this scarcity with her. And to this day, she still talks about things like cheap. So as I'm saying this, I want to ask you guys all a question. And if you could put in the chat, what is a belief, a scarcity belief that you have either heard from someone in your family, or if you have said yourself, a scarcity belief, if you could put that in the chat, like money doesn't grow on trees. What is, if anyone could put it in the chat, I would love to see or hear what some of those might be for you. We can't afford it. I can't charge for it. Absolutely. The scarcity, money doesn't grow on trees. I'm too old to build wealth again. Yeah, I mean, it is, we don't have money for that. Right, right. So then I have a mom who is also a powerful woman, right? And she got a job. I came from very humble beginnings, okay? And what she did was she made $15,000 working full time in the 80s. But she's a powerful woman. So I was so confused by all of this. Well, I did grow up in an alcoholic household, and I actually am now in recovery myself. I stopped drinking and using 13 years ago, and it is by far what was the catalyst to everything in yellow. See, I'm a high performing people pleaser. Okay, what does that mean? That means I worked my butt off to earn it and to get everybody to be happy, right? I also dropped out of college, but you know what? I ended up making more than 6 figures because I was that high performer. Do we have any high performers in this room? I imagine we do. And what that led me to were a couple of really big things that I think the scarcity really affected. And it was taking up too much space. I stayed quiet. I stayed polite, right? And playing small. Can anyone relate to that? Raise your hand. Yeah, yeah. So although I was going through all this as a kid, although I was in an alcoholic household, I still was this personal development seeker. I think I picked up a Tony Robbins book when I was in 6th or 7th grade. You know, when you are hurting, you seek things, right? And I found Tony Robbins, and then I started reading all personal development books. And after my whole story, I became a sales superstar. I was incredible. I climbed the corporate ladder. I did really well for myself. And in that same period of time, I became a trained improviser. And what that means is I learned how to listen. I learned how to listen. And that's going to come in handy when we move forward a little bit. I was a mom, and I got sober. And what I realized was there was a point in my career where I was killing it on paper. I was doing so good. I had my own house. I was a single mom. I had a nice car. I was great on paper. But you know what? Inside, I was lonely. I was not present in the life of my family. And I said, what is this all for? What is this for? Because spiritually, I was working so hard to go hand in hand with God on my journey, right? To do all this work. And I wasn't filling my own cup. I was living from scarcity. I was afraid that if I didn't work so hard, I would lose my job, that I had to earn everything, even though I was at the top. Can anyone relate to that? Yeah, that is a tough space to be in because it's confusing. And what I'll tell you is I'm going to ask a couple questions, and I hope that we can get some participation, if you don't mind, and you can put it in the chat. Let's see, what happened to my screen? Can you just, okay. Have we ever run out of water? I mean, on this earth, is there a ton of water? Right, right. Now, what about air? Do you ever sit in your room and say, oh my gosh, there's not enough air in here?
Plenty of
Light.
both.
Right, and light every day. No matter what we do, does the sun come up every day? It might be cloudy, right? There's love ever flowing, the stars, all of these beautiful gifts and blessings that we have in this world. Abundance is everywhere. So I would like to know from you all, even though abundance is everywhere, do you sometimes put money in a different category? For some reason, abundance just doesn't come in money, or you have to manifest it, or you have to work hard for it. Can anyone relate to that thinking? Yeah, it's really strange. And there was a point in my journey before I started to be an entrepreneur where I said to a spiritual advisor of mine, I don't know what to do. I can trust God in my drinking. I can trust God in my family. I can trust God in everything except when it comes to money, because I have to be responsible. Can anybody relate to that? And my spiritual advisor gave me the best advice I think I've ever been given. She said, yes, you have to be responsible. You are correct. She asked me a question. She said, would you carry that load with God? How about you pick it up and you carry it with God? I mean, that was a mind blower, because I got to release the burden, right? But still show up. Because in recovery, I've learned we get many gifts when we change our lives, right? When we show up, when we work with people. And what I will tell you is, until I'm really willing to look at that and release what my mind is telling me, I am unable to tap into this abundance as it relates to money. Because when I put money in a different category of water, air, light, love, stars, when I put it in a different category, I am blocking out. I am blocking it out. And one thing I'll tell you is that, hang on, my computer is a little bit slow. One thing I'll tell you is, as I've been on this journey of carrying it with God, is there are things that I get to do. So God gives us this gift, right? And it's like a brand new car. And if I just trust God and I let God have it all, what happens if I don't put gas in the car? Is it going to run? No. What if I don't get an oil change? Is it going to break down? What if I just look at that gift and let it sit there? Am I going to be able to co-create? No. What I have to do is I have to practice these things. And this is what changed my mindset as it relates to abundance and as it relates to this generational healing with the women, the powerful women in my family that are still powerful, right? They are still powerful. But that's an ingrained thing, that scarcity. It's a learned pattern. And I have really been able to shift that in my life. And I feel so strongly that we all get to, right? We all get to. And the way I did it was being compassionate with myself. Number one, because guess what? Money doesn't grow on trees. We can't afford it. There's starving people around the world. Those things, they still come up in my head. They still come up. Now I can practice believing that, or I could say, thank you for that reminder, and put in a different thought, right? Be compassionate to myself when I do go back to old behavior, because of course that's going to happen, right? Slowly though, when we become grateful, and this is the number one thing that I have learned truly creates more in my life, more of everything, and it's gratitude. It's gratitude all day and every day. And there's something that I've always been told to do when I'm upset, when I'm stressed, when I'm scared. Write down what I am grateful for, and not just think it, write it down, pen to paper. And I'll tell you why. Because as you write, your memory is triggered and you shift. And I've written it because that's what my friends tell me. Oh, write a gratitude list, Vikki, write a gratitude list. And I'm pissed because whatever, I got a tax bill that I didn't know I had to pay or whatever it was, right? She said, well, what are you grateful for? Hey, you made enough money that you have to pay taxes. And you know what? Maybe not that moment when I'm writing the list, but maybe over dinner later that day, I realize how blessed that I actually am, how much I actually do have. And when I focus on that, what I practice grows stronger. The other piece of it, like carrying that load with God, is also curiosity. Because when I come to this abundance with curiosity, this is something new for me. This is an adventure, right? I didn't grow up like this. Sometimes I feel like I'm being disrespectful to my family, right? They say, oh, you're going on vacation again? Well, that doesn't mean that I'm irresponsible just because that's the history that they have. Suzanne, thank you for this note. I am the generational curse breaker in my bloodline. Now the blessings of the Lord is coming my way for my family and the next generation. And it's so true. It's so true. When we are in curiosity, we make changes. And that is the only time we can make changes. Because if we just go with the flow and go status quo, what are we going to get? The same thing that we had before. So I will always talk about this first, and I talked about it a little bit earlier, but it's fill your own cup. When you come to energetically, if you are coming from a place of lack, right? So just like sometimes money is the one thing that we don't think of as abundance, or we do, and we think we have to work for it. Same thing with energy, right? Same thing with energy, same thing with time. When we are coming from a place of depletion, we're going to create more of that. What we practice grows stronger. So the final thing that has really just catapulted me is nobody knows what's going to happen, right? And this is kind of to Lisa's point of don't lose your money, and remember, or don't let go of your money. And what does he say, Lisa? Tell me again.
Don't lose your money, and don't forget rule number 1, never lose your money. Yep.
Right. So we never know what's going to happen, but we can be certain of certain things. Like if we show up and we put gas in the tank, right? So if we show up like that and we're actually in joy, we're enjoying the adventure of not knowing, we can sleep better. We can grow. Our money can grow. Our heart can grow. Our time grows. When we are in that energy of joy, because I'm a mindset coach, right? I am a person that wants to change my thinking and see others and be with them as they're doing it, right? And here's what I'll tell you about that. When I come from a place of joy, everything is easier. That live life as if everything is rigged in my favor, it's because I am choosing that, right? And so when I show up for other people and I'm of service and I am in joy of the adventure, that we don't know what's going to happen next, but when I'm trusting that all of this is perfectly aligned, as long as I have compassion for myself, as long as I'm grateful, as long as I have faith and I'm curious, as long as I'm taking care of myself so that I can be there for other people, right? And I can serve other people. That is when things are much more powerfully abundant in my life. And, when I was thinking about this, I wanted to share this quote by Marianne Williamson. And I was wondering if someone would want to read it. If there is anyone that would want to read it.
Nancy, you want to read it? Are you raising your hand, Nancy? I'll read it.
Okay.
Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We are born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. I love that. Oh, that's a writer downer. Everybody take a screenshot of that.
Yep.
Vikki, this has been so beautiful. I want to be respectful of our viewers' time. I'm the corporate girl in me always likes to end relatively on time, and I know you have some beautiful gifts for us. So tell us about this beautiful gift that you're sharing.
This is the book that I wrote. It's an ebook, and it's called A Woman's Path to Joyful Selling. If anyone does any kind of selling in their life, this is for men or women. It has a lot of really good tips or tricks that will help you and remind you of what we just spoke about today. And I will put the link in there because you can have it for free.
Put it in the chat. Vikki, could you go back to that quote again too? Somebody asked if we could go back to that. I think we all need to take a screenshot of that, don't you think? And speak it out loud over our families,
so
our children, right? I love that. So good. Vikki, I wanted to ask also, do you have anything coming up you want to share with our community? Any workshops, any
I do.
things you're excited about that we can participate in?
Yes, I'm thrilled. I will be hosting a workshop called The Lost Art of Listening. And it really is all around how when we show up in any avenue of our life, we will improve greatly just by transforming that one skill.
Yeah, absolutely. And you and I get to talk more about doing more together. I'm excited to do that. I think you get to be more intimately involved with us. Don't you think, ladies? Doesn't she get to be more intimately involved with us? Absolutely. Vikki, thank you so much, my dear. I so appreciate you. You are fabulous. So friends, make sure you take some time to take Vikki up on her offer, her very, very generous offer. Before we wrap today, we're going to have our fun drawing. And before that, I want to remind you of a couple of things. You're going to be getting a link to have a personal session with one of our wealth coaches. And I really want to encourage you to do that, whether it's, you know what, I just want to get off to a really great start with this better platform. Maybe you have your own financial products that you want to have a professional take a look at. You know, our team are all licensed professionals. So I encourage you, you know, as we're learning about these things, make sure you take advantage of all these beautiful gifts that our people are sharing with you. Vikki's gift, the gift of the time with our wealth educators and specialists. I'm gonna share a screen, my screen here. We want to know about you in order to serve you best, help you stay in momentum, make the most of your free, no obligation appointment. We do want to get some information from you. So take a screenshot of this. June or Donis, if you could also put it in the chat if they want to schedule time. This is important because we want to meet you where you're at. Everyone's financial picture is different. For those of you that are part of the Kingdom Wealth Specialist with Pedro's group, I know you've already done this with me, so you no need to repeat. But for those of you that are new, we encourage you to take that time to do that, okay? tomorrow, you're also going to be getting your worksheet. Your homework today is also going to be, I want you to evaluate, where are my assets right now? Do I have a little bit more in the debt side than asset side? That's okay. What we get to do is be clear about where that is. Where are you at in your financial roadmap? So make sure you give yourself the gift of doing that homework as well. Okay. We have some brilliance coming up tomorrow as well. And let's see who is our lucky winner today. Go ahead, June. June always has such great little spinners. I love the colorful spinners.
Kristen,
Oh, Kristen, woohoo! So we had Vikki yesterday. Kristen, be sure, friends, you'll be getting your gift card usually by the end of the week. And sometimes people slip through the cracks. So if you've been a winner before, please remember to let us know. Margaret, I see you on this call and I realize I don't think you've gotten yours yet. So be sure that you're going to be getting that, friends. So everybody, blessings in this amazing life journey. We're so happy you came with us today. Make sure you show up tomorrow. It just keeps getting funner, more funner and funner. Is that a phrase? We get to use that. Okay, everyone. Blessings in this amazing life journey. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.